Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Quick Break Games, where we cover all the latest in the LEGO game series created by TT Games. And this time we're going to be talking about LEGO Star Wars and the LEGO Star Wars games that we have so far before the Skywalker Saga, and we're going to be ranking the top 5 levels out of the 3 main LEGO Star Wars games that we have so far. This is going to be covering the console versions of the games only, so a lot of you guys in the other video were talking about the DS versions and the PSP versions and all these mobile versions and things like that. No, we're just going to be talking about the PC, Wii, Xbox 360, Switch versions of the game, PS3, all that stuff. So we're going to be mainly concerned with LEGO Star Wars, the Complete Saga, the Clone Wars game, and the Force Awakens game. So these are the 3 main games that we have so far. Of course, there's 5 games, but the Complete Saga covers the first 2. So one thing I want to note is this is just an opinion video. A lot of people were freaking out in the comments when I rated the top LEGO Star Wars games, so saying the list was wrong and all this stuff. It's just an opinion, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with number 5. So at number 5 we have Grievous Intrigue from LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars from 2011. So this level is pretty awesome. So the level starts out strong with Eeth Koth versus General Grievous at the very beginning of the level. So he breaks into the room, you have to do a little bit of a battle with him, and then he gets captured, and then after that you have this fun sort of co-op section where the level splits into 2 different sections, one with Anakin and one with Obi-Wan. So if you're playing co-op, each of you can be doing 2 different things at the same time, which was a cool new feature of this game at the time, and I really like it. I hope they do it more with the Skywalker Saga game. We created a video where we suggest the new levels that they could have in the Skywalker Saga. A link to that will be in the top right corner of this video. But anyway, back to Grievous Intrigue here. So with the Anakin section of the level, you have a bit of puzzle solving where you have to defeat a bunch of droids and try to get past these different force fields. And at one point you have to use a super battle droid to progress and use his gun to blow up a gold LEGO object, which I thought was kind of a cool puzzle that you had to do there. Use the force on the super battle droid. Then once you get through with Anakin, you're going to rescue Eeth Koth, and then you're going to switch over to Obi-Wan. If you're playing solo, you kind of have to do one at a time, but I think it works better if you're playing co-op, just because you're kind of both doing separate things and you feel like you're getting a lot done. And with Obi-Wan, you have to do this Grievous boss fight, and he's kind of pushing you back, and he just feels super powerful. Then you end up having to push him back, and then he ends up running away. Then the level kind of goes into this unique section with a split vehicle and boss fight section. So with Anakin, he's going to be out flying around the ship, and then with Obi-Wan, you're going to be in there fighting Grievous, and at one point, you have to land your ship with Anakin, use Anakin to sort of help Obi-Wan progress up into the ship. Then at the end of the level, you use Anakin to fly in and rescue Obi-Wan. So it's very cool. I like how the level's split up and things like that. It's very unique. I hope they do more of that in the Skywalker Saga, like I said, as well. And one last thing is I like how this level combines vehicle gameplay with ground gameplay, where you're kind of flying around as Anakin and then you can land and do things. They do that a few different times in the Clone Wars game, and I think that's a really great feature. So that's why this one's number 5. So at number 4 we have the Battle of Endor prologue level from LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens from 2016. So this level is a remake of the ending of the Complete Saga game from Episode 6. So this level kind of combines Endor, the Death Star 2 explosion section, or the Death Star 2 blows up, and then we have the Sidious Invader boss fight with Luke into one level. So it combines all those things into one level, which was originally 3 levels in the Complete Saga, but with the new technology that this game had when it came out, they were able to put it all into one level where it kind of splits up after different sections of the level, which I thought was awesome. So I just want to say the graphics for Endor are incredible in this game. They look like better than the rest of the game for some reason, like something about the lighting through the trees and everything. Like the character models look great. I don't know, this level just looks awesome in terms of graphics. So with this being the first level of the Force Awakens game, it has to set up a lot of the new features and the new content that game introduced. So this level features a cover shooting system, which was a new thing for the Force Awakens at the time, where you kind of have to get behind cover, and you do this as Han Solo, and you can peek around and you start shooting at different stormtroopers, and you have to get back behind cover. Now after you take out so many troopers, then you can move up. It feels kind of like a first-person shooter, so I imagine that these things are going to return in the Skywalker Saga game, but I really like that feature. I think it's pretty fun, and it switches up the typical LEGO gameplay where you're kind of running around, slamming the X button or the square button, depending on what console you're playing on, destroying LEGO blocks. It kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit. The level eventually goes into this AT-ST section where you're kind of riding around in the walker, destroying everything, which I thought was cool. That was in the original game in the Complete Saga, but I thought they made it so much better in this one. Lots more destruction. After you get into the bunker, you get into the Luke Skywalker and Palpatine and Darth Vader fight, and I thought this version, maybe people will disagree with me here, but I thought this version of the fight was better than what they had in the Complete Saga. Instead of Palpatine moving around the room, so in the Complete Saga game, you were kind of fighting Palpatine, and every time you would damage him, he would have a whole bunch of hearts. After you took out so many hearts, he would kind of start walking around the room, and then you would fight him again, then he'd walk around the room again, and he's just walking all over the place, and it kind of made the room way bigger than it was in the original movie in Episode 6. So this one, they kind of keep it mainly in the section that Episode 6 took place in, and you kind of switch between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker just like the original level, but this time you have to use the dark side of the Force and Luke's light side of the Force to solve different puzzles, to throw different things at Palpatine and take him out. And they got kind of creative with the different things you have to do to take him out, the different objects that you throw at him and whatnot. And there's a lot of fun animations for Sidious, and there's also this epic button mashing section at the end where you're playing as Darth Vader and you have to button mash different buttons as it tells you to, and you're doing cool different moves to kind of fight back against Sidious, and then eventually it ends with you throwing him off the cliff into the end where he supposedly dies, and it turns out that he never did die if you saw Episode 9 last year. This is probably one of the best comedic bits of the Force Awakens game, but when Luke goes to take off Darth Vader's helmet, it just ends up being like the Clone Wars, or a version of Anakin Skywalker. Like, he looks completely fine, and Luke's like, oh, and then his head switches to the, white, kind of burnt Anakin that we saw in the movie, so I thought that was a pretty funny joke. And then the level ends off with the Millennium Falcon bit where you're playing as the Millennium Falcon and you're blowing up the Death Star, which was the last level from the complete saga. And I thought it was a little bit more fun to destroy the core. The level just kind of switches right into where you're blowing up the core of the Death Star. There's a lot less, fluff like there was in the complete saga where you're kind of going through the Death Star and trying to make it to the core. And that's basically how this level ends, and I thought this was a great opening for the Force Awakens game, opening it with the ending of Episode 6, leading into Episode 7. And I think this is the best level from that game. I thought it was very fun. I thought it did a good job introducing all the new features of the game, and I thought it was a good setup. So that's why it is number 4 on this list. So number 3 on this list is the hidden enemy level from LEGO Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. So this level is a cool boss fight against Asajj Ventress, I believe is her name, or Asajj Ventress. I do just want to say, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I have not seen the Clone Wars TV show at the time of recording this video, so on these Clone Wars levels, I'm a little bit foggy on what exactly is going on, but this is just ranking the level itself. This has nothing to do with the source material that these levels come from. So this level offers lots of fun lightsaber combat against the droids and Asajj as a cool boss fight. You kind of get to this mini battlefield section where there's just tons of droids on screen. That was a new feature at the time of this game, where they were able to put a lot more droids as they improved the game engine behind it. And then, anyway, I'm getting into the technical stuff, but there's just a ton of droids in there, and there's a bit of puzzle solving going on at this section. We have to figure out how to stop the droids from coming in, because if you don't know, there's these 2 switches on both sides of the room where you can step on those, and that will temporarily close the doors that the droids are coming out of, so that will kind of clear out the droids for you. And you got to figure out what to do to stop the gunship, the Republic gunship in the background, from getting shot down. You have to use the droid helmet to help you progress, so I don't know, I thought it was a very good section there. Then after that, you get into the boss battle section, which involves taking down Ventress, and you have to use her double lightsabers, which this was another new feature of this game, which I loved, where they introduced dual-wielding lightsabers. So this was never a thing in the previous LEGO games where you could hold 2 lightsabers at once. So what you have to do is you have to damage her, and after you damage her, she'll drop one of her lightsabers, and you can use the Force to pick it up, and then that allows you to damage her again. So you have to use double lightsabers basically to actually take down her hearts. Then after that, you do that a few times in typical LEGO fashion, and then you have to use the Force to throw different objects back at her, which was a neat section and kind of a callback to the Darth Maul level from the complete saga, if you remember, at the very beginning of that level where you had to throw different objects back at Darth Maul, and you have to do a very similar thing here with Ventress. Then this level gets even more epic at the end with this huge droid boss fight. I'm not sure what this droid is called. Someone in the comments can tell me if you've seen the TV show and you know all the details about this level. But you get this huge droid boss fight, and you have to throw your lightsaber at it to damage it, which was another new feature of this game. You can throw lightsabers, which wasn't something in the complete saga or the original 2 LEGO games. And then there's a bunch of droids attacking you at the same time. Then finally, in the last section of the level, you're in this free-falling section where basically this giant droid is falling forever. And like literally the section will just go on forever until you actually finish off Ventress. But this combines sort of the throwing objects at Ventress, and it combines actually lightsabering her. So you essentially have to throw an object at her, then lightsaber her. And you do that a few times to finally defeat her and end the level. But I thought it made for a very fun level. I think this is the best level in the Clone Wars game, in my opinion. I thought it was very fun, had lots of gameplay environment. Maybe one thing they could do to improve it was maybe have a vehicle section just to kind of introduce that gameplay into it. But other than that, very solid level, and that makes it at number 3. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2. So at number 2, we have Cloud City Trap from LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga from 2007. So This is pretty much the best moment from what many consider to be the best Star Wars movie of all time. This is Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader on Bespin. So this was the first level where you fully play as Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber. You know, you kind of dabbled in it a little bit on the Dagobah level before this, where you're kind of training with Yoda, and you can use a lightsaber as long as Yoda's on your back, and then towards the end of the level you finally fully get access to the lightsaber. But for the most part, this is the first time you fully get to experience Luke as a Jedi, or Padawan, I guess you could say. And you do a boss fight with Darth Vader, which is awesome. In terms of the co-op aspect of this level, some may consider it to be a little bit weak because the second player is not playing as a Jedi or anybody with a blaster. You're just playing as R2-D2, which is kind of lame for the second player, but I don't think it's as bad in this level because R2-D2 is used all the time. So at the very beginning of the level, you have to hover across to unlock this door. And throughout the whole level, you're just unlocking things, flying across things. You're very useful as R2-D2 in this level, and you're even used to help fight Vader. So you get into that iconic section with the carbonite freezing chamber where Darth Vader's trying to get Luke in there. And in this Lego version, you're kind of hacking this panel and you're causing smoke to come up, and you get this hilarious animation with Darth Vader where he's kind of like choking on his little mask and everything because of the smoke. And you have to do that a few times, which I thought was kind of funny. I will say the next section of this level where you're fighting Darth Vader in this room where you have to use R2-D2 a lot to get smoke to go up on Darth Vader up when he's on that top ledge. I thought this section dragged on a bit too long because there's a bunch of stormtroopers in the room. And I hate when levels kind of deviate from the movies too much. So like here, there's a bunch of stormtroopers. Like this moment's supposed to be Darth Vader versus Luke. Like I don't want to see a bunch of stormtroopers going in there. That never happened in the movie. And I think it just dragged this section on a little bit too long. Like I wish you could just kind of fight Vader and get through this section a lot faster. So I will say that's one bad thing about this level. And then when you finally get to the end of the level, you get this awesome cutscene where Vader shows Padme to Luke, which is kind of funny. It kind of ties in the prequels with the original trilogy, which is always cool. And then Luke loses his hand and falls off, and you get this funny cutscene where he's kind of falling below Bespin, and he lands on the pole in a funny way, and it's just kind of, it's hilarious. So anyway, Cloud City Trap, which is the 5th level from Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back from the complete saga, we're putting that level at number 2, so let's go ahead and move on to number 1. So at number 1, we have the level Darth Vader from Episode 3 of LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, the final level where you're doing Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar, which is what I consider to be the best moment of the entire Skywalker saga. You know, a lot of people, fans of the original trilogy, will like that Darth Vader versus Luke on Bespin, or maybe even Episode 6 or something like that, where the final battle of where Darth Vader finally turns good and all that. But this is my favorite moment of Obi-Wan versus Anakin. There was so much tension between this fight in the movie, and I thought they represented it pretty well in the complete saga, and I'm really excited to experience this again with modern technology, or modern Lego game technology, I should say, in the Skywalker saga. So one bad thing I will say about this level at the beginning, there's this annoying section where you're running towards the camera, sort of like a Crash Bandicoot kind of way, and you're kind of jumping up and down to avoid the lava beneath as the whole Mustafar facility is blowing up. And it can be kind of frustrating because you can't see ahead of you because you're running towards the camera, so stuff will just kind of blow up underneath, the floor will blow up underneath you without you even knowing, and you can't really see where exactly you're supposed to jump. And you know, after a few tries you'll get it down, but it's just a little bit annoying. That's just a minor little gripe about this awesome level. So the level then moves into this unique timed section, which to my knowledge this is never really done again in any Lego game after this, where you're actually timed or else you fail the level. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think, at least in the Lego Star Wars games, I don't know if there's any other section where you're timed like this. But you can use the Force on these support beams to give yourself more time, which I thought was unique. You never see that before either, where you're kind of buying yourself time because this Mustafar facility is blowing up. And you kind of have to work together with Anakin, you know, despite them pretty much fighting the whole time in the movie. They kind of had to change it a bit where you have a co-op partner with Anakin and you're kind of helping each other out, so you have to get out of this room. And once you get out of this room, it transitions into a cutscene. And I will say the cutscenes in this level are pretty good, especially for the time. Like, you get lots of unique lightsaber combat where they're fighting each other in goofy ways. But the animations are very good. I think TT Games did a good job, and I can't wait to see what they can pull off in the Skywalker saga, you know, with this being 13 years after the release of this game, or really 15 years if you think about it, because these levels were originally created for the 2005 game. So they're going to be using 15 years newer technology to create this scene. Oh man, I can't wait. So then the level moves on to this fun platforming section over lava, and you kind of have to go around. There's different collectibles and studs you can get along the way, and then finally you get to this final platform where you do the boss fight against Anakin. And if you're playing this co-op, it's really fun because you're fighting your co-op partner, which, again, I don't think this is ever done in any other LEGO game before. I mean, unless I'm wrong, is there any part in the story, at least the main story, where you're fighting your co-op partner like this? I don't know. But you're both given a ton of hearts, and you're just kind of duking it out. But eventually Obi-Wan wins, and you get the final cutscene where Obi-Wan has the high ground, even though in the game he doesn't exactly have the high ground. They're kind of on even level, I will say. But hopefully they gave Obi-Wan the high ground in the Skywalker Saga version. But they're kind of duking it out, and then, you know, Obi-Wan cuts up Anakin, and then he turns into Darth Vader, and you get the awesome cutscene where Darth Vader is just ultra powerful, and he's destroying everything in the lab where he was created. And it's very cool. So I'll say the main problem with this number 1 level is it's too short. Like, the fight does not last really long, and if you really think about the level and all the sections in it, there's not much to it. But this is my favorite level of the entire LEGO Star Wars series, just because of the moment that it's taking place in, and I cannot wait to see how they improve it in the Skywalker Saga. Like, I just know they're going to make it like 30 minutes long or something, and it's just going to be a lot better. Maybe they'll implement the Palpatine versus Yoda fight as well. I'll have a video on this as well, and you can click on that in the top right corner where we speculate what new levels they could add into the Skywalker Saga. But anyway, I'm going on. That is going to be our ranking of the top 5 best LEGO Star Wars level out of the 3 main LEGO Star Wars games. Please let me know your ranking. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? I mean, you know, maybe you think the Darth Vader level is garbage just because it's so old and short. Just let me know what your favorite level is. Probably a lot of you guys are going to say Clone Wars levels, because I know a lot of you guys are a fan of the Clone Wars, and some of you guys like the Force Awakens game as well. But be sure to subscribe to be notified right when our newest LEGO videos come out. We're covering the Skywalker Saga pretty intensely right now, but we're going to be covering other LEGO games as well. And we're also creating mini kit guides for the complete saga as we build up to the Skywalker Saga whenever it may release, because at the time of this video being made, we still don't know. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys next time.